On record August 1st, 2024 at 9:02 a.m.
All right. Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning.
We are back on the record in State of Indiana versus Richard Allen. ILL show the defendants here in person with counsel, Mr. Baldwin, Mr. Rozzi. I know I saw Ms. Auger earlier. There she is.
Sorry.
Show the states here by Mr. McClelland, Mr. Luttrell, and Ms. Diener. We are now here on the final motion for the week's hearings, the state's motion in limine that was filed April 29th th and the defendant's response that was filed April 30th th. Before we get to that, I know that counsel wanted to make their summations on the defendant's motion to suppress that we concluded yesterday. I appreciate everybody's indulgence yesterday. I know it was a long day, but I wanted to get through that particular round of evidence before we continued with this morning. So, Mr. Rozzi, your summation on your motion to suppress. Well, no, you didn't give me a table of authority.
Okay.
You gave me a table of the contents that were in that disc.
May I approach?
You may.
I might be duplicating. Actually, I didn't give you this because I amended it just slightly. Thank you. This would be marked as DD. I don't really know if it's an exhibit. It's a table of authority.
Okay.
All of which are referenced in the memorandum and the motion. Well, actually the memorandum. And then, there is the additional authority at the bottom there, which is the Indiana Protection and Advocacy case versus the Indiana Department of Corrections, 2012. That's not in the memo, but that's another table. That's another case that I'm asking the court to take a look at. And actually, that case was one that I had submitted, and I did it through an offer of proof, but I'm using it as an authority. It's a federal court case, today to make some arguments. So those are the cases I'm asking the court to take into consideration. So I MOVE to admit, I guess DD to the extent that it's really an exhibit. Defendant's Exhibit DD offered.
Any objection?
No.
All right. I'll show DD admitted without objection. Defendant's Exhibit DD admitted. Ms. Diener. Thank you very much for your presentations. I appreciate it. You very much condensed the issues for my review. Are we ready then to proceed on the state's motion in limine?
Could I have just a minute to clean up? Maybe kind of inaudible, just a second?
Sure. Do you need like a quick break or something?
Well, maybe 5 minutes would be good.
5 minutes? All right.
Judge, before we take that break,
Yes.
can we approach briefly?
Sure, come on up.
Sidebar conference conducted.
Inaudible.
Right here facing this way. I may inaudible.
And just to keep them, there's no reason to display those to the audience. They're nobody in this game. I'm the person that needs to see whatever evidence that you want to display, so.
Quiet in the gallery, please. We're still on the record.
Thank you.
Inaudible.
When we get to trial, that's a pretty different situation.
Sure.
And we'll have to take a look at inaudible, but for purposes of this hearing, I'm the fact finder and I'm the one that needs to see whatever is on these boards, not the audience members, so if you could limit the display to me, I would appreciate that.
Inaudible.
Well, and I saw that, but, there were times when, inaudible, flashing things around and would be a little bit disconcerting when you don't expect to see, oh, wow, look at that.
I just realized that my screensaver on my computer is my wife's face, and they were staring, every time, and they're looking right at her, and I'm just thinking little things like that. I'm not,
Does your wife know that her face is all over?
No. That's what I'm saying. I didn't. I would usually not sit there and.
Okay.
So we'll be inaudible.
It just, that whatever's on the poster boards, they don't need to be displayed to the audience.
The full conversation.
Right, yeah. Okay. So like 5 minutes to just get organized and figure out where we are?
So we're dealing with the state's motion in limine, right?
Yeah. That's the only thing we have left. Well, the state's motion and your response. And before we get into that, I think we can narrow it even further. Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Sidebar conference concluded.
Let's take 5. Jody, you can go off the record.
Off record at 10:14 a.m. On record at 10:23 a.m.
Okay.
We can get started, Judge. Mr. Luttrell went down to use the restroom, but that's fine.
Okay. All right, very good. So we are ready then to proceed on the state's motion in limine and the defendant's response. That's our last motion for the scheduled hearings, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Rossi, you ready?
Yes. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay. So we're all organized now for the presentation on this. Is there any issue? I know I said this up at the bench earlier, but we might be able to kind of shorten this part of the hearing considerably. Is there any dispute about the paragraphs 1 through 6 of the state's motion in limine? I mean, I know that the defendant filed a response objecting to all of those things, but...
Are you?
I mean, it's pretty common practice. I mean, there's lots of case law. There's lots of rules that cover the things contained in the motion in limine on 1 through 6. So.
May I?
Yes. Affirmative response. Mr. McClelland. Okay.
I agree, Judge. I'm gonna be handling most of the third party, with Jennifer doing a little bit of it. I don't disagree with Nick. He's also indicated that he believes the burden shifts once he raises the issue of, knowing the Frank's memo and other fillings, that's what we're doing. I don't, even if I disagreed with it, I just don't think it would be practically wise for him to start. I don't know how it would happen. I think we, on the defense side, need to present the evidence on third-party suspect, and we're prepared to do that. And so...
Okay. So we all agree that paragraphs 1 through 6 and 10 are applicable mutually?
Yes.
Yes, Your Honor.
You know, you've never tried a jury trial in front of me. I run a tight ship and I hold you to the rules, I hold you to the ethical standards, I hold you to the case law, so as long as we're all on that same page. When I read this, I thought, are we really gonna argue whether or not we can attack each other in a court of law in violation of the ethics? So I'm glad to hear that that is not the issue, that is not what we're going to be doing, so paragraphs 1 through 6 and 10 on the 404(b) can be granted, understanding that they are mutually applicable to both sides, so that we are really going to be focusing on 7 through 9 and 11 and 12.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes. The court, all right. Great. Thank you. All right. Then we are ready to proceed. So 7 through 9, I agree with counsel. That appears to be the defense theory on the third-party perpetrators. Clearly, the case law is very clear that there has to be a nexus between the crimes and the third-party perpetrators. So who's going first? Judge, I would ask for a separation of witnesses.
Okay. I'll grant the request for separation of witnesses. Are you going to reserve anybody, either of you?
Judge, I do have a witness, but what officers are you going to call?
Who is it?
What officers are you going to call? All the subpoenaed officer?
I'm gonna call Holman, Cecil, and Vito likely.
Okay. Do you want the other subpoenaed officers separated as well?
Yeah, just in case.
Okay.
Thank you.
Are they in the room?
They are, Judge.
Okay. So those of you that have been subpoenaed on this state's motion in limine and the defendant's response are under a separation of witness order. You can't talk about the case among yourselves or with anyone else. You need to stay out of the courtroom until you are released from subpoena. You may speak with the attorney that subpoenaed you.
Judge, can I just have 1 second with Mr. Baldwin on
Sure.
procedural matters?
Yeah.
Judge, if I may, what we're talking about is Detective Vito. He serves a couple of purposes. Brad is handling one, the Keegan-Klein argument. I'm handling most of the others or all of the others, and he has a multi-purpose, and so he's like, do we want to do both at once? And from the presentation standpoint, does the court or the state object to that? Would they object if we called him twice? Would they mind doing both of those?
I have no preference.
Okay.
I think it'd be clearer
Okay.
if you just heard one. Back to buckets, you can see how my brain is functioning. But I think it would cleaner if we did it that way, if that's all right.
All right. That's fine.
Very good.
Judge, I have an opening statement that I think will help give context for everybody. I think it will help the state even.
Go ahead. Mr. McClelland. You may call your first witness.
Call Jerry Holman.
Where is he? There's chairs right out there. Why aren't they just sitting right out there?
They're trying to locate him. I'll just, to move things along, put on Dr. Perlmutter.
Witness sworn.
You may go ahead.
Thank you, Judge. State your name and spell it for the record.
Dawn Perlmutter, DAWNPRLMUTTR.
Judge, I think what I'm gonna do, just to help out, is and I don't know if this'll help you. I don't know if you look on your computer or not, but I also have paper copies and whatever you prefer.
Paper.
Paper's better?
Affirmative response.
Okay. I'm gonna hand you what I'm marking as. It's been marked as Defendant's Exhibit E. Can you identify that for me, please?
That's my curriculum vitae.
Okay. And did you put that together?
Yes.
And is it updated?
It's about 2 years old. It's not updated.
Okay. Is there any big missing pieces, anything you want to add?
Just a couple cases that I worked on and a training contract.
We may get to that. Let's start with some basic stuff. What do you do for a living?
I'm the director of the Symbol Intelligence Group and an adjunct in the Philadelphia College of Osteopathic Medicine in their forensic medicine program.
Before we move forward, I wanted to kind of go through your CV with your help. On page 2, I think is it okay if the judge were handed that?
Okay.
Do you want to follow along or?
Are we admitting this?
I'll move to admit. Defendant's Exhibit E offered.
Thank you.
No objection.
All right. So without objection, EE is admitted. Defendant's Exhibit E admitted.
On page 2, Dr. Perlmutter, it says that you are a subject matter expert in the area of expertise and it lists symbols, symbolic anthropology, anthropological methodologies, atypical homicides, ritualistic crime investigation, and other.
It's a designation, it's a category like, engineer or program manager, but subject matter expert is also a government designation that equates to a specific pay grade.
Okay. So we'll get that. Is it state government or U.S. government that has given you that designation?
U.S. government.
And who would pay you money?
As I've consulted with the FBI on different projects and that is what I'm brought in as.
Moving forward, on page 3, there's a listing of books that you have written. Is this a complete list of the books that you've written?
Yes.
Okay. I want to focus on ritualistic crime scene investigation. What is that book about?
That is a field guide for law enforcement if they're at a crime scene analyst, if they're at a ritualist IC crime, what to look for, what symbols, instructions on what to do.
Okay. And then, at the bottom there, selected encyclopedia entries and book chapters. I'll focus on the first one there. Analyzing sacrificial violence. What is that about?
That was an introductory chapter one did for a book that was edited that had a lot of different authors writing on different types of violent murders.
I see that blood sacrifices is one of the subheads there?
Yes, yes.
Ritual. The next one is Ritualistic Crime Survey. Encyclopedia of Forensic and Legal Medicine. What is that?
That was the survey entry for the Encyclopedia of Forensic and Legal Medicine that is used in inaudible schools and in medical schools.
Have those entries been peer-reviewed?
Yes.
The next page is detailing law enforcement courses, development, instructions. Tell the judge a little bit about generally what you do involving instruction.
I train local, state, and federal law enforcement agents/analysts across every branch of government.
Going through some of those, ritual homicide investigation, is that a course that you have taught?
Yes. That's a training that I've done for over 20 years, and that is, again, case studies of numerous different types of ritual homicides and what to look for and how they proceeded through different process and that kind of thing.
And you still teach that today?
Yes, yes.
Okay. And did you say to whom you teach that to?
Yes. To local, state, and federal officers.
What federal officers, agencies?
Again, Homeland Security, sometimes DEA, just FBI, different agencies.
Now, the next one is ritualistic crime scene investigation. What's the difference between ritualistic homicide and ritualistic crime scene, those two courses?
The ritualistic crime scene investigation is everything except the homicides, like that can be theft of human remains, it can be blood rituals that are done with certain subcultures, mutilations, just every different type manifestation of, can be narco-cults, palo mayum, just different types of things that officers would come across.
That don't involve home.
That, short of homicide.
Symbolic analysis methodologies. What is that class about?
That's an advanced class that is for intelligence analysts and investigators on the actual methodologies. When they're analyzing different types of crimes, it's a lot of different. It's more than just behavioral analysis or investigative analysis. It gets into semiotics and hermeneutics and is it's a very theoretical class teaching how to apply different methods.
Okay.
Affirmative response.
And we'll talk about methodology later, I think, but the last one is racially motivated violent extremists and militia violence. What is that class about?
That's the trainings I've been doing for the past couple years. Racially motivated violent extremists involves like white supremacy groups, and, when I do these trainings, I focus on the identifiers, all different types of ideologies and religions that they hold and like, things like tattoos and rituals and initiation rites that would be associated with those groups.
What is your educational background?
My background, I have 3 advanced degrees. 2 are in art and art history, which applies in terms of, again, methodologies, a doctorate in arts and...
Okay. And you said art history applies to?
Art history is very relevant in that there's a methodology called iconography where a lot of these different religions and ideologies have like pantheons of gods and goddesses. So in art history, paintings, historical paintings, literally they call them attributes that would go to each tradition and that shows up as identifiers at different scenes. So that's how that's applied.
Okay. What do you do? What are your kind of jobs at the Symbol Intelligence Group? What are your...
Well, I do consulting, case consulting, and training, and we produce intelligence bulletins that are put out to, the different fusion centers and across the country.
What would you say are your qualifications as an expert on ritual homicide and ritualistic crimes?
I have worked on dozens of different ritual homicide cases. I have experience with that. I have worked on probably hundreds of ritualistic crimes, all at different phases, and have, written literally, written books on this and the textbook on it, just also have crime scene training and just a lot of years of experience.
Have you? When you said that you've been involved at various stages, what did you mean by that?
Well, I may get called in while they're still at a crime scene, which,
So you get called in maybe at the beginning, maybe at the middle, maybe at the end?
Exactly.
All right. And have you ever testified in court?
Yes. I've testified on 3 different homicide cases, a U.S. case in the Veer, a case that involved ritualistic crimes in the U.S. Virgin Islands, and other cases that involved ritualistic crimes.
And how often? How would you divvy up helping out, if you want to call it that, testifying on behalf of the defense, testifying on behalf of the prosecution?
I've only testified for the defense once before. I primarily work with the prosecution.
Where did you work prior to the Symbol Intelligence Group?
I worked at NES Associates in, they were based in Alexandria, Virginia, and they had contracts with the Department of Defense and an intelligence agency. I worked as a subject matter expert there.
How would you say that your education and experience is relevant to law enforcement?
I'm applying a lot of the theoretical academic theories to law enforcement and have, literally train on what to look for, the different, because symbolism is a number of things. It can be graffiti, tattoos, codes, dates, insignia, so it crosses over a lot of different areas. It can cross over counterterrorism and you get requests for information on identifying these different.
What training, if any? I think I saw that you teach a class on it, so I'm presuming you have training specific to white supremacy or, as in this case we'll talk, called Norse paganism or Odinism. Are you familiar with those?
Yes. That comes under the racially motivated violent extremists, and go ing back probably 25 years. I've been identifying the identifiers with that, because a lot of those groups, there's a lot of tattoos, there's a lot of initiation rites, there's all kinds of codes confiscated documents that have coded messages.
Are you an Odin expert, would you say?
I'm not. I wouldn't say I'm an Odin expert. I would say I'm a generalist in the symbols of all of these different groups, so I'm able to distinguish from somebody practicing Odinism versus Christian identity, which is another white supremacist religion. So as a generalist, you're able to distinguish the different types of ideologies from what you're seeing at the scene.
Would it help if you had some water? Inaudible, some water.
I knew that would happen when thanks.
I want you to talk a little bit about, while we're on the topic of Norse paganism and Odinism and white supremacy groups, how would you describe, is there one working way that Norse paganists operate, or is it multiple different ways? How would you describe that?
Well, Norse paganism is a huge category. There's neo-pagans that are non-violent. There's dozens of different groups, they practice differently, they're decentralized, they can be geographically located. You have variations, they worship different pantheons of gods. Then, you'll have racist.
Would there, if there was a group that might say they're Odinists in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, or a Norse pagan group in Columbus, Ohio, would there be any similarities between these groups or?
Well, if the Odinists, like other groups, they have general symbols that they share. The Odinists are, follow Odin and Thor and certain gods, and they have the same types of, symbols, the hammer, but as they splinter off and have their own kindreds, they organize into kindreds, their rituals will be particular to that specific group.
Okay.
So they will, generally, have certain things in common, but then, as they go into different areas, a lot of them do advocate for personal types of rituals.
Where would how would a group in an Oshkosh, Wisconsin group come up with their ritualistic practices versus the Columbus, Ohio group?
Well, everybody seems to originally organize on the internet. Social media is a huge part of this now, and they will have Facebook pages, meet-ups, they'll organize that way, or they will splinter from, the violent ones will splinter from outlaw gangs and, the Vinlander Social Club, and they just have different leaders and change as the different leaders take over.
And so is there a set way that anybody conducts a ritual or ceremony uniformly across the United States on any of this Norse stuff?
Well, there are, just like there's general symbols, there's general things with rituals, like they're all nature-based ideologies, so they tend to be conducted outdoors in wooded areas. They will, all these different groups will have all airs, that kind of thing, but then it gets more specific after that.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about methodology. Well, what type of research methodologies? What type of analysis do you use when reviewing a case?
It depends on the things found at the crime scene. I do use what is called symbolic anthropological methodology, which is different than behavioral analysis, which is based on psychological methods. The symbolic anthropology method focuses on the culture and you're interpreting the information from the person's point of view, their worldview, as opposed to forms of psychopathology. So it looks at different cultures and ideologies.
So what does that? Can you delve into that a little bit more? Like difference between the psych. How did you say that? Behavioral psychology.
Oh, behavioral analysis that is the preferred method that is how most agents are trained, because it's based on Western logical, rational thinking, and it's also a form of what they used to call profiling, so they'll interpret different types of behavior as either a personality, by somebody with a personality disorder or some type of psychopathology where, with an anthropological interpretation, the person may have done a violent ritual but it can be initiation rite, as opposed to somebody who's psychologically, a personality.
Have you ever seen that be a problem in terms of law enforcement understanding what's going on at a crime scene? Well, how would it be though that law enforcement get it wrong? I mean, I know a pentagram is Satanist, I would think that I know that, at least, but how do law enforcement get it wrong sometimes?
Well, it's just, again, it's a methodological, it's perspective. If you're only interpreting things from a form of psychopathology and somebody's doing these heinous murders, it could be viewed as a sexual sadist or it could be viewed as a serial killer and without attributing the ideology that goes with it. So it's a different interpretation, it's a different perspective on it.
What is hermeneutics?
Hermeneutics is another methodology that I apply when there's text or certain types of symbols. It's the interpretation originally, the interpretation of biblical text, but the methodology is taking ancient text or ancient types of writings and interpreting it in how it's being used today, how the intentionality, how the person is applying it today. It's different than linguistics or philology, which translates what a code is. This is looking at trying to interpret it in how it's being used at, for example, a crime scene.
Okay. I want to talk about that just a second. And I don't know if this is when we're talking about the behavioral, the Western thinking versus what you're talking about, but it is wrong for police to want to interpret. Oh, I want to know exactly what TS means. Or, what did you refer to when you made an interpretation?
There's like linguistics or.
If you show up at a crime scene, I think it would be natural, What is this guy trying to say? What would he say? What do these symbols mean? Is that important or is it more about, I'm just trying to figure out this,
Well, it's very important in figuring out who did it. And the biggest distinction between sort of behavioral analysis and the anthropological approach is, with behavioral analysis, they're thinking rationally, it's a rational Western perspective, where most of the people doing these in these different ideologies and religions, they think magically. So magical thinking is a huge part of interpreting what is going on, because they're not thinking about it logically. So if they leave items there, it's not because they're leaving it, they accidentally left it. Everything has meaning, everything at the scene has meaning. They're either.
That phrase, magical thinking, is that your phrase or is that kind of an industry phrase?
It's a common term, it's used for example, people who are, like superstition would be a form of magical thinking. Prayer actually is a form of magical thinking. It's things that don't have a rational, logical cause and effect. So the cause and effect is that if you sacrifice a chicken, that it's gonna make you have good luck. That is not a rational way of thinking, that's a magical way of thinking.
Is Norse paganism or Odinism, does that involve magical thinking?
Absolutely, all of, yes.
Keep going. All of what?
Well, most of these neo-pagan groups involve magical thinking.
Well, what part of Odinism or Norse paganism is magical, like what aspects of it?
The whole belief system, the idea that, well, it's pre-Christian, so they are polygamists, they have a lot of different gods, and the rituals that are done, it's the belief if you have an altar and say certain things or arrange things a certain way that you are intervening in your life, you are making things happen, whether it's their way of prayer.
We've heard about runes. What are runes as it relates to Odinism?
Runes are, in Odinism, Odin was considered the father of the runes. He discovered them after he hung on the tree, the world tree, for 9 days. But runes are an ancient, they're a Nordic language and they're imbued with magical qualities. So there's elder Futhark and younger Futhark, and they're used across the spectrum. A lot of different groups use runes, but they're very specific to Odinism as an identifier.
What about blood as it relates to magical thinking in Norse paganism religions?
Well, blood rituals are part of Odinism. I mean the racist Odinist version where it would involve. There's a concept of blooding the runes, where you're kind of consecrating your runes. You could have an altar and doing things with blood. So it's, also, some do animal sacrifice.
But is blood magical? It might not. Maybe I'm just not saying that right.
Blood is sort of the highest offering historically and across cultures. A blood offering was always one of the highest offerings. It represents life and death, the sacred and profane, so when it appears at a crime scene or is being used, the offender usually understands the meaning.
Is it personal to them, or is it something that everybody that would walk onto the scene would say, "Oh, I know exactly what this means"?
No. It's usually personal. A lot of these things are rituals that they're doing, personal rituals for their own. It's encouraged actually in a lot of these groups.
I'm gonna put on, just so. I don't know if the court can read that, but it may not work here, but I want to talk about what are the indicators.
Yeah.
You probably don't even need me to put this up here. But what are the crime scene indicators that you teach law enforcement to look for when they come on a scene? And I'm just gonna go through these one at a time. These are items you gave me.
Yes.
Is that correct? We just kind of put it on a poster board so you can kind of guide us through it. Ritual murder crime scene forensic indicators. Number 1, place of death. Why is that important?
Well, the place of death is very indicative of the type of ideology you're looking at. And like I said before, the neo-pagan, the Odinists, are all nature-based ideologies, so they do their rituals in clearings, outdoors. In fact, they have, usually near bodies of water, because they're dealing with the natural elements. If you have, for example, an indoor homicide scene that's ritual murder, and I've had cases like that, where that's more indicative somebody's doing a copycat of a film or something. It's not, the place is very significant.
Your Honor, may I just approach the board to make sure?
Sure. Yeah.
I have a copy of, thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome.
And in a moment, you will be looking at.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Dates are significant. Sometimes homicides they can occur due to astrological moon phases, seal-style events. They can occur on specific holidays, political or current events. So one of the things I always check are that particular date, if it equates to a certain ritual that different groups do on that date. So yeah.
We'll talk about that as it relates to this case in a minute. Now, cause of death is the third forensic indicator for a ritualistic murder crime scene. What does that mean?
Cause of death is, of course, very, very significant, because usually in ritual murders there's a lot of torture, blood loss. You don't get bullet wounds. They're very, usually stab wounds and, again, involving torture as part of what they're doing.
Okay. So the cause of death can tell you something when you're on the scene?
Yes, and it can point to the different types of groups. Like I said before, certain, like cartels they do a lot of beheading ritual-type murders and then put the heads on altars, and you have Satanists who will carve symbols, different, they tend to do different type of things, so what they do is very important.
All right. Number 4 forensic indicator you have is the murder weapon.
Because the weapon of choice is usually a knife, a ceremonial knife. It's very rarely found at the scene. It's something that would be, an object that would be very important to the offender and that's what makes it part of the ritual. It's a ceremonial object.
Next is the symbolism at the crime scene. What is that?
Well, that's everything from things carved into, things hung at trees, on trees, carved, sometimes, again like I said, carved on victims. Interestingly, what happens a lot, which I train officers on, is with these outdoor scenes, they will use natural objects as part of the scene, they'll use branches either to create a circle or they'll use rocks or create symbols with the natural items at the scene.
Okay. Body disposition is also identified as the 6th ritual murder crime scene forensic indicator. What does that mean?
How the body is positioned has very specific meaning to the offender. It's, one of the ways of indicating that it's a ritual murder is that it's not a counterforensic measure.
What is a counterforensic measure?
If somebody is just committing a crime and wants to get away with it, they will hide the body, bury the body, or to avoid biometrics they'll, cut the fingertips off or things like that to avoid identification or to literally hide from, so that the police can't investigate either who the victim is or who the offender is. That's not what happens in ritual murders. The body is positioned in a very specific way that has meaning to the offender.
Would it have meaning to anybody else that might walk onto the crime scene?
It may not, That's what you're trying to interpret, what?
And lastly is a typical blood pattern. What does that mean?
A lot of times, the blood of the victim is used as part of the rituals, it's used in the symbolism, it's used, a lot of times, on the body, it can be almost like to anoint the victim on their face or a lot of things. A lot of atypical, unusual things are done with the blood of the victims.
How would you define a ritual murder?
A ritual murder is a murder that goes beyond conduct required for the killing that is not a counter-forensic measure and has unusual behavioral or symbolism.
What do you remember reviewing for this case to form some opinions about whether this was what happened in Delphi, Indiana, on February 13th and or 14th was a ritualistic murder?
The actual items that I reviewed?
Yeah, just so the judge has an idea of what you're basing your opinion on.
I reviewed crime scene photos, the autopsy reports, the bloodstain pattern report, a report from BAU, I think Indiana State Police, and, a lot of social media postings, and a ceremonial video, a India police interview video.
What did you ultimately conclude about the scene there?
In my opinion, this was a textbook ritual murder. It has all of the elements that are listed there and, when I talk about indicators, like, for example, when you're doing fingerprint analysis, you need like 12 to 15 matches to have.
Okay. We're gonna go, through the 1 through 6. I don't know that we're gonna hit 7. But place of death, ritual murder crime scene forensic indicator number 1. I'm putting this on the easel and then I'm going to hand the court and mark it so that we know what the judge was looking at. I'm handing the C-Ord Exhibit FF and would ask that it be admitted into evidence. Defendant's Exhibit FF offered.
Any objection, Mr. McClelland?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
Also FF is admitted without objection. Defendant's Exhibit FF admitted.
So this is a crime scene photo. What about this crime scene photo causes you to believe that it applies to number 1, place of death, that determines it's a ritualistic murder?
The aerial view really shows, in a lot of these cases, that it's almost like a clearing, and in this case, it's surrounded by trees. And during these rituals, they have to separate designated sacred space from, like, profane secular space, so they need a clearing too, where they do it. And this, and being near a body of water is very, very common, too.
Okay. I mean, it's significant to you that, where the circle is, that there's a space there?
I put the circle in because it's typically referred to as casting the circle. When, and even neo-pagans, when they do it, they separate the.
So that was is that considered a strong indicator or just an indicator?
It's a strong indicator.
Number 2 is the date of death does that date correspond to a holiday? What does your research reveal on that?
Well, the ONLY holidays that fall between February 13th th and 14th is one, and there weren't any celestial events or anything at that time, is called Valisblot. It's an Odin holiday for the son of Odin, Vali, and it actually is a sacrificial holiday. The thing with the Nordic holidays is they're from sundown to sundown. So even though it's on the 14th, it starts on the 13th with sundown.
Okay. So the fact that these crimes occurred on the 13th and the 14th is because of Valisblot what does that tell? I mean, I know, I think it's kind of obvious, but what does it tell you?
Well, the dates they're not as strong an indicator, it's just another thing to look at, it's a specific Odinist holiday. There's other dates like Samhain and Beltane, there's ones that are very specific to other groups, but none of the other ones fall in this area.
So is it a strong indicator, at least in this case?
It's one indicator, yes.
All right. The next is the cause of death. Sharp force injuries to the neck. Do you let's tell why the cause of death in this case is an indicator, forensic indicator, that this was a ritualistic murder scene.
Because with sacrificial, and there's different types of, like I said before.
Okay. I'm going to move to admit just the autopsy reports as evidence of what happened to these girls. And did you review the autopsies? I don't remember.
I reviewed the reports and the photos, yes.
Move to admit exhibits GG, which is the autopsy for LG, and HH, the AW autopsy report. Defendants exhibits GG and HH offered.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
All right. Without objection, HH and GG are admitted. Defendants exhibits GG and HH admitted.
Is there anything more to be said about, that you haven't already said about cause of death related to this case as an indicator?
No. That's.
Next, we'll talk about the murder weapon itself. I'll show you here this board and move to admit Exhibit A. 2. Did you review this item? I'm gonna move to admit 2.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
All right. I'll show without objection 2 is admitted. Defendants Exhibit 2 admitted.
And I don't want to talk about a third party yet, I just want to talk generally speaking.
Yeah, that's an altar, it's an Odinist altar, which is indicated by the objects there, the Thor's hammer, the candle, the runes, the rune pouch, the sere, the knife, personal photos, and the glass of mead or whatever that liquid substance was.
And would it be common that a knife might have even been used in a sacrificial ceremony might be part of this altar?
Yes.
And we'll get into it, so we don't belabor the point. What do you think that this is important in this case, this photograph, related to the third-party suspect?
Yes.
Why is that?
Because it indicates that the person thinks magically, is practicing Odinism, there's a ritual knife involved, and it's part of the social media images.
And this is, for the record, this is social media. The tea was found on Brad Holder's Facebook page. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. So next is symbolism at the crime scene, this one I want to be. And I'm gonna move to admit the paper version of this. Mark this exhibit as JJ, move to admit that. Defendant's exhibit JJ offered.
Any objection?
Judge, as long as we can explain a proper foundation. I guess I'm a little fearful of... I want to make sure this is clear. This is not a post from Brad Holder's Facebook page. This is something the defense has created from collecting various portio NS of discovery. I don't want it to be mischaracterized as this is a post from Brad Holder's Facebook page.
Fair enough. As an officer of the court and going on in this case, I'll try to do that. The middle portion, foundationally, is a crime scene photo that we were given by the state of Indiana, as well as the photograph here on the right. We did, that was not given to us at the same time, we put those together. And then, this one is his Facebook post, and we received that in discovery, and we would be offering them together for purposes of demonstrative evidence.
All right. So with that understanding, I'll
Yes, Your Honor, no objection from the state.
admit JJ. Defendant's exhibit JJ admitted.
Thank you. But I really just want to focus at this time on the middle photo, because
The branches W are placed, carefully placed in that arrangement. It appears to be identical to the marking in it, the person is creating some type of symbol. In this case, after reviewing everything in the context, it appears to be what's called a bind rune.
what is a bind rune?
A bind rune is when you combine two or more runes and, to create personal symbols or to combine the power of the two different things. It's done quite often and it's a very common type of practice which, magical practice.
Sorry, I had to kind of do my thing while you were talking and I know that's probably distracting. I'm gonna move to admit. This is LL. I'm sorry, KK, move to admit that. Defendant's exhibit KK offered.
No objection.
All right. Without objection, KK's admitted. Defendant's exhibit KK admitted.
I'm gonna hand you what's been marked as KK, although it's 19 on the copy I'm handing to you.
Okay.
I want you to review that, and just tell me what significance that is.
The significance of this is the person is discussing on their post how they had put a mark on their body, it was the Gibo rune, and felt like different.
I say Bo?
This is indicative of somebody who's thinking magically. They are indicating that they believe that the mark they had put on was having certain things happen in their life, and that they added the second rune to control aspects of their life. So this, clearly, indicates somebody who believes in this type of rune magic.
And that is, for the record, that is a Facebook posting from Brad Holder. Is that correct?
Yes.
And this is the close-up version of that hand, the marking on his hand. Is that correct?
Yes.
Again, you talked a little bit a second ago about why is that significant to this compared to the stick arrangement found on that body?
It's identical to it. It's somebody who, it's the exact same configuration.
Is there any way that's a counter-forensic activity, the 3 sticks found on this young woman?
No. It would be, they're not hiding the body at all. It would not work. It doesn't function that way at all. And there were other indicators in what I reviewed of a number of runes being done in the sticks. There were a number of.
And we're talking about with this person named Brad Holder. You reviewed his social media pages.
Yes.
And you saw lots of stick that were.
They were specifically arranged as, into bind runes. They were done in wooded areas, and that was prior to the homicide.
Okay. See what the next, still on the symbolism at the crime scene, I wanted to look at the other. I wanted to look at the way that LG's body was displayed. Well, I'll use this one. I'm going back to. Judge, I don't know which exhibit that was.
FF.
FF. Looking at the stick arrangements on LG's body, does that tell you something about this forensic identifier symbolism at the crime scene?
That had the specific meaning to the offender. In my opinion, it's intentional. The branches were placed in a very specific way. It's, obviously, not a counterforensic measure because she's completely exposed. It could also, when interpreting this, it could also be a combination of the positioning of her body could be considered like one type of symbol, the branches on top could be another. The important thing is that it had specific meaning to the offender and it wasn't to try to hide the body.
Did you compare that? When looking through the various, well, let me see if I can find this one here. I might just have to mark this one. No, here it is. All right. This one will be the smaller version of what's on the poster board. This is called LL. Move to admit that. Defendant's Exhibit LL offered.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Without objection, LL is admitted. Defendant's Exhibit LL admitted.
Thank you. Oh, I know I also move to admit whatever this would be, move to admit MM. And I didn't want to make a poster of that. Defendant's Exhibit offered.
Any objection?
No, Judge, as long as it's sealed.
No objection.
Okay. I'll admit and we'll seal it. Defendant's Exhibit admitted.
Thank you, Judge.
Okay. Actually, if I might, just be careful with this, if you would. I am gonna hand you what was just entered as at this. Another copy of did you have a chance to look at what? I guess that would have been LL and
Yes. And this is what I was referring to before with the arrangement of these branches in the woods, the arrangement of which they are, in my opinion, runes, and being on these social media posts, and the one
on the victim, okay. And what does that tell you? As you're trying to find, you teach these classes, you're trying to find a suspect. What does all of this so far that we've been talking about tell you?
Well, it tells me that it's a process of what it isn't, and it's no tea, like I said, in the categories of Satanism or exorcisms or narco-cults or gangs. These are natural objects that are being used and consistent with social media postings with literally rituals that are being done in the same configurations. So it shows that it's a connection to that person.
For the record, LL was Brad Holder's Facebook post that was of the two sticks, runes, as you call them, correct?
Yes.
That's your opinion.
Specifically bind runes.
Well, this actually is, we're looking at. And I'm sorry, Judge, I can't remember which one this is. You've told me about 3 times.
FF.
We're looking at FF, the poster size version. And let's move on to that 5th, or the 6th indicator, body disposition, and from FF and the blown up version, at least, can you comment on the way the body disposition is indicative of a ritualistic crime?
Because of again, it's not, obviously, a counter-forensic measure.
Okay. And I want to show you now, this is the blown-up version, inaudible. I'm gonna hand you. I'll move to admit the NN, which is the smaller version for the court. Defendant's Exhibit NN offered.
Any objection?
Judge, no objection. Again, the same clarification as before. This is an exhibit that the defense have created. It's not from a Facebook post. It's I would say a triple side-by-side picture that the defense has created.
Okay.
I agree it is.
I'll show NN is admitted over, without objection with that qualification. Defendant's Exhibit NN admitted.
Thank you. Talking still about the 5th, I'm sorry, body disposition. What does this exhibit? Show you?
Middle image is a painting from a face, a social media page of Odin.
Judge, I'm gonna object at this point. Can I ask some foundational questions?
Yes.
Okay. We clarified this as something that the defense has created. Now you're testifying this is from a Facebook page. Have you observed the Facebook page?
I observed. No, I did not.
So you don't know where the image is from?
It was in the images that I was given to review.
I understand that.
Yeah.
But you don't know where the image came from?
I didn't see it on a Facebook page.
I'm sorry. I didn't hear that. I'm sorry?
I did not see the image on a Facebook page.
So safe to say you don't know where the image came from, but you saw the image and it was given to you by the defense?
Correct.
Okay. So, Judage, I guess I just asked the court to strike in their own mind that this is from a Facebook page. There's no foundation she can testify to that. I don't have any objection to being a demonstrative exhibit from the defense, but beyond that, Judge, I object.
Okay.
As an officer of the court, I would say that this is.
Okay. That's fine.
Thank you. So what does this hanging man and the body disposition, which is the sixth indicator, what does that tell you about this third party who posted this?
The positioning of the legs particularly are identical. The image itself is a very common classic, of the painting is a classic depiction of Odin. It's used in tarot cards, although tarot is not part of this, but it's an image that's very common in Odinism, where you have him depicted during sort of the primary event where he's hanging on the tree for 9 days, discovering the runes, and that is significant because the classic image usually has the other leg bent, but the painting is the same leg in the same positioning of the leg as the victim. Also, in the painting and with the victim, the eyes and mouth are open.
If I were to represent, as an officer of the court, that this painting, and in low lighting you can't really see here that Brad Holder, that the painting shows that it was signed and dated on February 17th of 2018, which is 1 year to the date that he was interviewed by police. Would that mean anything, or is that? Am I just trying to be a defense lawyer and do defense lawyer things?
Well,
if that's the case, then that's fine.
No, dates do, anniversaries, commemorative dates have meaning too.
But again, it goes to that person, right? The individual, what it means is the meaning to that person, so it would really be unfair for us to ascribe some meaning to that. Would that be accurate?
Again, these offenders they create everything's very personalized, these rituals are personalized, even though starts out in the context of an ideology, there's, so many different manifestations of these different ideologies that everybody personalizes it, they're encouraged to.
I want to take a look at that or the corresponding, you're looking at the bigger version of 00 or O if that's. Oh, I'm sorry, may I move to admit O. Defendant's Exhibit O offered.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor, no objection.
All right. Without objection, OO is admitted. Defendant's Exhibit OO admitted.
Okay. So what? This was a crime scene photo. What is the significance of this as it relates to a forensic indicator?
The stronger significance is that it's in the victim's blood and that it's a marking on the tree near, at the scene, and it, in my opinion, is an intentional mark. It's not like an obvious symbol under, again, Satanism or other types. It appears to be consistent with ancient alphabets that are used quite a lot at these scenes. Sometimes you get Enochian O or Eden or Arabic or.
I think you read the blood spatter report, and they don't view this as an intentional, they view it as something else, but.
I'm not a blood spatter expert, I've taken SOM training in it, but this, to me, is an absolute intentional mark. It does not seem consistent.
Well, we'll move on to this. This is the big version. We'll look at that smaller version of that, which is right here. Move to admit pages. Defendant's Exhibit PP offered.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Without objection, PP is admitted. Defendant's Exhibit PP admitted.
Tell the judge what this is.
These are 3 still images from a ceremony video that
Judge, I'm gonna object to the question. Maybe some foundational questions?
Sure.
I'll ask them.
Okay.
One of the things you said that you received earlier was a video of a ritual. Is that correct?
Yes.
And did you watch that video?
Yes.
And what did you then do with the video as it relates to this?
I stilled 3 of the images to be able to discuss.
Okay. So you took still shots of them?
Yes.
And then put them on this poster board, or I put them on the poster board, but thought the images would be good too, inaudible?
Yes.
All right. Move to admit.
We already did.
Already did. What is significant about this to you?
This was an Odinist ritual. The part that at the very beginning, they're in an outdoor wooded area near water, they are casting the circle, sanctifying the sacred space, which is how they initiated the ritual. They're using the symbolism, they're talking about Lagos, runes, and the water. So it's, essentially, a kindred or a group of people who are doing a Odinist outdoor ritual and then they're making offerings to Atri. Different people, at the end of the video, are bringing different things and placing it at a large tree.
Okay. And for the record, we laid the foundation for this on Tuesday. Brad Holder has identified the person touching the tree in this photo as Patrick Westfall, and I would let you know that, Judge. Now I'm gonna put up kind of the same photo, but also a side-by-side that we created, the defense, or maybe you did. Did you create that?
Yes.
Side by side with the tree from the crime scene with LG's blood. And I am going to move to admit this as QQ, I'm guessing. Move to admit QQ. Defendant's Exhibit QQ offered.
No objection.
All right. Without objection, QQ is admitted. Defendant's Exhibit QQ admitted.
Why did you do this side-by-side presentation of who I said is Patrick Westfall touching the tree in that ceremony in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and this crime scene photo?
To indicate that, again, it was another indicator of the use of a tree as part of the offerings, as part of the ceremonial type of thing that Odinists engage in. And in that video, he was the only one who did that type of offering. Other people brought like bowls and things.
We're almost to the end of this. Take a look at that, let me find the one. This would be RR. Was this in the packet of stuff that you received from us?
Yes.
Move to admit RR.
No objection.
All right. Without objection, RR is admitted. Defendant's Exhibit RR admitted.
Why was this significant to you in terms of trying to assess third-party suspects in a ritualistic crime scene setting?
This was a social media posting of an altar, an Odinist altar, again indicated by the objects on it, the ritual items. And the person who did the posting was talking about how he had put a rune in his own blood on the tree 2 weeks before and it was still there. And the date 2 weeks before would have been about 2 weeks after the homicides.
And now, to be clear, the person posting is not Brad Holder. Is that correct?
Correct.
But Brad Holder did like this post?
Correct.
And you circled, what is it that you circled there?
The rune that was done in blood. Again, just another indicator that this is the type of ritual a blood ritual that was done by an Odinist group that identified themselves as the Asatru warriors.
Now when you've been essaying all the way through here that it's personal, whatever each kindred or whatever, each individual person, what's personal to them. So does it mean something when you see this, what you're calling a rune on this tree and there's what you were saying is a rune in LG's blood on the tree, is that meaningful?
Well, that he identifies as a rune. I mean, clear, the person identifies that.
And lastly, I think we start wrapping up here, this is going to be SS, I believe. Take a look at that. And I will represent to the court that S, and move to admit SS into evidence. Defendant's Exhibit SS offered.
Any objection?
No objection.
All right. I'll show that as admitted without objection. Defendant's Exhibit SS admitted.
I will submit to the court that this was what the defense calls the faked crime scene photo. It was found on.
Judge, I'm going to object to him characterizing what the evidence is, because the state doesn't agree with that characterization, and I think the evidence will show today that there's not a foundation for that, and so I object to that. I don't object to the picture being admitted and maybe something that she can consider in her analysis, but not to the characterization by the defense.
Okay. I'll sustain the objection on the characterization.
I'll submit to the court that this is foundationally was true. Purdy has said that he saw this on Brad Holder's. This image on Brad Holder's Facebook page. So I think that's what we've established.
I don't think that's what his testimony was, Judge. And he's here to testify today so we can get that from him.
Okay.
If that's the case.
Okay.
Okay. What, if this was on Brad Holder's Facebook page or a suspect's Facebook page related to the crime scene, what would this indicate to you?
It's the depiction of two girls or young women posed in a similar manner one posed in a similar manner with tree branches on top of them. It's indicative of the crime scene positioning.
And again, is it common for people who may have committed a crime to go online and show kind of indicators of that crime scene on social media?
A lot of in different cases, you're gonna have different things. Sometimes you'd find a diary or a book of spells or whatever they're doing. In other cases, social media has become the way for people to sort of to show off, for lack of a better expression, their rituals and what they've done.
I'm gonna finish up here on direct examination with a couple questions. Based upon your kind of research once you received this case and were asked to look into it, do you know whether there are any Odinist group or were any Odinist group in Indiana in 2016/2017?
Yes. There were groups that splintered. You had the Soldiers of Odin that I think splintered into the Vinlander Social Club, which also had a branch of.
And you said earlier that these violent Odin gangs, were they white supreme? Do they have white supremacy?
These are all the racist Odinists, the white supremacist racist Odinists.
And did you say earlier that these are the splinter Odin groups that believe in blood sacrifice?
Yes. They've done murders. So too, a ritual murder would be a progression.
Do you know or are you aware of whether there is any human sacrifice in Odinism?
There's literature that shows different cases of sacrifice every 9 years, and there's different references to it in some of the writings and literature of the.
Hang on a second. If the BU or the prosecution were to claim that what was going on there at that crime scene was called an undoing, would you agree with that assessment?
No. An undoing is, from the behavioral analysis, is a symbolic reversal of a crime. It's when a person feels remorse or guilt in it, and they will either, position the body so that they look like they're sleeping, or they will cover the body with a blanket. They're not doing, they're staging, but they're not doing it as a counter-forensic measure, they're doing it out of the.
Okay. Any doubt in your mind that this was a ritualistic killing?
None at all.
No other questions.
Mr. McClelland.
Thank you, Judge. Ms. Perlmutter, we talked about your education and we talked a little bit about where you're employed. Do you work exclusively for the government?
I work with different departments. The university, the Philadelphia College of Osteopathic Medicine, is a non-government one.
Do you also do consulting like you are here today?
Yes, case consulting.
And you get paid for those privately as well, right?
Yes.
Okay. So you do consulting or testifying work on the side beside the jobs?
Yes.
And so it's part of how you make your living is testifying about these things?
Yes.
Okay. What training do you have specifically to recognize when a crime scene is part of a Odinist ritualistic killing?
The training I have is to identify different symbols and rituals that occur, so it's a process of elimination, and in this case, that's what I identified it as.
Okay. Well, let me back up. Any of the books that you've written, have they dealt exclusively with Odinism?
Not X, no.
Okay. Any of the training you've given to any kind of government department, have they dealt exclusively with Odinism?
Not exclusively, but I have. They're definitely part of the one-day training I do on RMBEs.
Have you had any training specifically on Odinist ritualistic killings, that narrow field exclusively?
No, and I don't know if there is any training on that available.
And so if that's true, which I think it is, that there is no training, how do you educate yourself about a discipline?
Well, it comes from doing research, going to a lot of conferences. Go to gang conferences. I've done lectures at those conferences. I did have another homicide case. It's an open investigation, but it clearly has similar types of symbolism.
We'll get to that part.
Okay.
Do you agree there's a difference between a ritualistic killing and a gang killing?
They are not always mutually exclusive. Depends on which gang and what they're doing.
Let me ask you this. If I'm in a break-off gang of Odinism, say the Hammerskins, and I murder somebody, does that mean the murder scene is an Odinist ritualistic killing?
No.
Okay. So there's a difference, right?
Yes.
If it's a gang killing and I just kill somebody and I'm an Odinist, that doesn't necessarily mean it's a ritualistic killing. Correct?
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
And especially since they usually use firearms.
Let's say they don't, let's say they use a knife. Just because they use a knife doesn't mean it's an Odinistic ritualistic killing. Correct?
No.
Okay.
It's the combination of.
Okay, we'll get to that, but just because it's done outdoors, does it mean it's a ritualistic killing?
No.
Okay. In these Odinistic ritualistic killings, through your research, who is typically what human or what kind of human is typically sacrificed in these ritualistic killings?
It has meaning to the offender.
Okay.
With the white supremacy groups, they target
minorities, right?
Yes.
Have you ever seen a racist Odinist group target 2 young white females?
They will do that if they can.
It's a yes or no?
No.
Okay. By the name itself, racist would mean some minority group. Correct?
Or race traitors.
Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. And so if a racist Odinist group killed a white female child, that would go against the racist part of their group. Correct?
But it could also be an indicator of other things.
But through your training and experience and what you've seen, you just testified, you never, in your experience, have you seen a racist group kill a white child? That would be against what you're learned and what you've seen. Correct?
Correct.
Okay. To be a ritual, the name alone, at least to me, implies that it has to be done over and over and over. In these Odinistic ritualistic killings, have you seen that? Are these killings done over and over and over?
That's not a correct definition of a ritual.
Okay.
That's not how I would define a ritual at all.
Well, let's back up. How many Odinist ritualistic killings have you seen in your career?
There is the open investigation the other homicide case, and that was in 2020.
And so there's an open investigation on that case?
Yes.
And so I assume, with the investigation being open, that whether or not it's an Odinistic ritualistic killing is still open as well.
Yes.
Correct? You talked about various Odinists have general symbols they share, but the rituals are particular to the individual person. Is that correct?
Yes.
Are there any symbols in the ritual that are the same across the board?
They use the hammer, they wear the pendants. Those are the general type symbols. They get rune tattoos, raven tattoos.
I guess I didn't ask the question very well.
Oh.
Are there any symbols left at ritualistic crime scenes that involve Odinism that are universal across the board?
Universal? No.
Whether it be the state or the defense team, when someone asks you to examine a crime scene, what evidence do you typically look at?
I typically look at any kind of symbolic or forensic evidence, So the scene, the crime scene, autopsy, social media, computers, anything that falls within my areas of expertise, those.
Does the party hiring you, do they typically give you all the evidence and let you sort through it, or do they handpick which evidence you look at?
They give me, I guess, pretty much give you everything and I review it.
And so when you're reviewing those things, is it important to look at the other people that were investigated?
Yes.
Is it important to look at their background and any evidence that the law enforcement or defense may have on that person?
Yes.
Would it be important to look at any depositions anyone's given?
That, yes, it could be.
Would it be important to look at the suspect's deposition?
Yes.
If you come into a case after somebody's arrested, is it important to you to look at the defendant's statements?
Yes, it can be.
Is it important to look at any alibi evidence?
That, again, might get outside the realm of what my area is.
And so if you were looking at social media posts of a person that was a suspect, it wouldn't be important to you to see if that person had an alibi?
Again, that's not my area. I look at the symbolism, the forensics, the language that's used, that is nothing. I've never looked at that type of evidence before.
In this case, you reviewed the things that you looked at the defense had given you, correct?
Yes.
Did you examine anything outside of that?
No.
So you never examined Brad Holder's interviews?
No.
You never examined Brad Holder's Facebook page?
No.
You never examined Brad Holder's deposition?
No.
You never examined any evidence that showed where Brad Holder was that day?
No.
Did you examine any evidence that the state has against the defendant?
No.
Did you examine any other suspect's information?
I looked at a police interview with Patrick Westfall.
So you looked at the evidence. The only evidence you looked at is what defense spoon-fed to you or gave to you.
I looked at evidence that was provided to me.
When you looked at the evidence, was it organized in the way that the exhibits are today? Were the side-by-sides given to you in that fashion?
No. I did that.
Well, you didn't do all of them. Some of the side-by-sides that were presented in evidence today were done by the defense as demonstrative exhibits. And were they given to you like that? Like the side-by-side of the stick? Or the picture of Brad Holder's hand and the picture of AW's body at the crime scene? Okay.
Correct.
So the side-by-sides that the defense created, they were given to you in that fashion?
That one, yes.
Okay. When you're looking at evidence, I don't even know if there's an industry for what you do. But are there industry standards of what things you're to look at when examining a crime scene?
Well, that's why the methodologies are so important. I mean, that's why I have crime scene training, go to the crime scene conferences. The methodology is all those types of, that I listed, place, date, holiday, just all of the causes of death, things like that.
So those are the industry standards, those place of death, date of death, cause of death. To you, those are the industry standards that Somion in your position would look at to determine whether or not this was a ritualistic killing.
Well, they're also the FBI's standards. I mean, they have the same.
So out of the things that you listed, place of death, date of death, cause of death, murder weapon, which is the most important?
I would say the cause of death, it's the most significant, and the body positioning.
Let's talk about cause of death for a minute. You said that it was important that they were cut. Correct? Their throats were cut?
That they were, the exsanguination and, yes, the sharp force, correct.
Okay. Does it matter how I've seen a lot of movies where, when they sacrifice, they come from one side of the neck to the other and cut it that way. Is that what you mean when you talk about?
No, it's not that specific. It's the fact that they died from the
Knife wounds?
Sharp, yes.
And so the fact that someone died from a knife wound, that's the S-angle. That's the most important thing you look at when determining whether or not this is a ritualistic killing.
To the neck. To the
knife wound to the neck.
right.
That doesn't mean every killing where there's a knife wound to the neck is a ritualistic killing,
No,
right?
absolutely not.
That doesn't mean that if someone's an Odinist and they kill somebody with a knife wound to the neck, that doesn't mean it's a ritualistic killing. Correct?
Correct.
It's all very personal to whoever did the killing. Correct?
Correct, but it's in combination with all of the other things.
Well, let's go back to that. You said several times it's all personal to whoever did the killing. You're just guessing what these symbols mean because only really the killer knows. Right?
I wouldn't say guessing. It's significant that somebody did a symbol in blood. It's consistent with other ritual homicide cases.
But it's significant to you. It may not be significant to the killer and you don't know that. Correct?
I guess that's one way of saying it.
Talking about the cause of death, one of the things that you said is that there's usually a lot of torture, usually a stabbing. When you looked at the crime scenes here, did you see any evidence of torture?
No, there was no evidence of torture.
Were the victims bound in any way?
No.
Were there any symbols carved in the body?
No.
Do you know what murder weapon was used to kill the victims?
I do not know if it was a serrated blade. I don't know.
Did you assume from the evidence that you saw from the defense that it was a knife?
I think I'm trying to. I remember reading it might have been referenced in the autopsy report, I'm not sure.
If a knife.
Or maybe the BAU report I think mentioned, there was mention that it was a serrated knife.
If a knife wasn't used, would that change your interpretation of the crime scene?
If it were a bullet wound, that would.
What if it was a box cutter?
That would not change the interpretation.
So any sharp object in your mind that's a symbol?
In one case, it was a letter opener.
So yes is the answer?
Yes.
Any sharp object that's a symbol to you that this is a ritualistic killing?
If they're using it.
Combined with everything else you saw?
If they're using it in that situation too.
What's that situation?
In an outdoor scene with a body positioned and in the woods near water, positioning of the bodies, that whole combination.
Positioning of the bodies. Do you agree that her body is right where she died? It was not moved?
I don't know if she was dressed or redressed, so she had to be moved for that to happen. I don't know if she was moved from a distance, but her.
Well, how do you know she was redressed before or after she died?
I don't know if she was redressed before or after, but somebody had put clothes on her because she was wearing undergarments. To redress someone, you're manipulating the body, I don't know if you're.
But you're assuming she was redressed after she died.
I don't know.
I mean, you have to, right? Because you're saying to redress the body, you would have to reposition it. Well, if she got dressed before she died, there wouldn't be any positioning of the body.
I didn't say that she was redressed after she died.
Okay, we'll move on. Do you know for sure that AW's body was moved?
I don't know. I think that her leg was positioned that way.
And what are you basing that on?
I'm basing it on it doesn't appear to be a natural. The sticks were placed on her,
No, we're not talking about the sticks, just her body. What gives you the indication that her body was positioned in that way?
It's just in my opinion that if you're dressing someone, that when you're putting pants on, that your leg is not gonna cross over. I think, just the fact that, in combination with the other body being positioned.
But for that assumption to be correct, you're assuming that someone dressed her after she died and positioned her body that way either while they were dressing her or after they dressed her.
I'm not saying that she was redressed after she died.
And again, how do you know her body was? We're talking in circles here and I'll go all day if you want.
No.
How do you know her body was positioned?
Because it's consistent with the rest of the scene.
Okay.
It's consistent with.
How is that consistent with the rest of the scene?
It's consistent with LG being moved and positioned. If you do the aerial view, both their bodies seem to create, they appear to be positioned.
How do you know LG's body was positioned?
Oh, her body was moved.
That wasn't my question. How do you know she was positioned? I don't disagree with you, she was moved. How do you know that the killer positioned her body in that specific way she was laying?
Because of the combination of the branches that were put on her, the way she was displayed.
Let's talk about the branches for a minute. The aerial view of the picture is... Did you see any other or any varying angles of the crime scene besides the aerial view that's been admitted into evidence?
Yes.
And so did you see pictures of the crime scene from the water?
I don't think I saw it from that angle.
Did you see the crime scene from the opposite side of the water?
From the other side of the bank?
Yes.
No, I don't think so.
Sorry, Judge. I'm just going through my notes here. There's quite a bit of exhibits. I want to make sure I cover everything. Ms. Perlmutter, you talk some about the exhibits of Facebook posts from Brad Holder. Those Facebook posts alone, does that mean that can you tell from those Facebook posts alone that Brad Holder participates in Odinist ritualistic killings?
I can tell that he practices Odinism and believes in magic.
Okay.
And magical thinking.
I appreciate your answers, but it's going to go a lot quicker if you answer my questions. From those posts, can you tell that Brad Holder participates in Odinist ritualistic killings?
No.
Okay. Can you tell from those posts that Brad Holder participated in this killing?
No.
Can you tell from those posts if Brad Holder does animal sacrifices as part of his Odinist belief?
No.
Can you tell that he does human sacrifices as part of his Odinist belief?
No.
Is there anything in those posts that places him at the scene of the crime?
No.
The symbols that you talk about seeing at the crime scene, and I'm trying to wrap my head around this. But when you go in to participate and examine a crime scene, do you go into it with the mindset of, okay, I'm specifically looking for what symbols I recognize?
No, not at all. I go in with an open mind to see if it's a symbol at all, if it's a, or what, I go in very open-minded.
Okay. If someone were to give you a picture of a symbol before you looked at a crime scene to say, I'm trying to equate this to looking at cloud formations. If somebody, if I go outside and they said, oh, look, I see a train in that cloud, it's hard for me to unsee that. If somebody gives you a picture of a symbol before you look at a crime scene and says, hey, I'm looking for this symbol, do you see it in this crime scene? Do you think that affects the way you look at a crime scene?
No.
You're able to separate that?
It's actually part of the methodology. It's called bracketing. You have to bracket it out. It's something that you train to do.
And so when someone gives you a side-by-side photo, that's part of the methodology of examining a crime scene?
You, as a professional, you look at it individually, and I have thousands of symbols that I compare things to.
When you talked about the things you would look at, you testified it would be, or typically you would look at the suspect's deposition or a New York statement that suspect made. Is that correct?
If it's provided to me. I usually am given evidence that's relevant to imagery, symbolism, codes, or any kind of atypical trauma. I don't always get, occasionally, I'll get computers that's connected to like music or social media. I'm not usually given the other standard things you would get with an investigation, like alibis.
Do you agree that it'd be important? If these crime scenes are so personalized and individualized, would you agree that it'd be important to get as much background information about the suspect as possible?
Yes. And sometimes I get writings or diaries or manifests.
In this instance, you got Facebook posts, right?
Well, I get a lot of social media.
Sure.
That I do get.
But you agree it's important to learn as much about the suspect's background as possible before making a determination because these crime scenes are so personalized.
Yes.
And so if you came into an investigation after someone was arrested, would it be important to you to have the background of the person arrested?
Yes.
Would it be important to you to have any statements that person made?
Yes.
And you didn't get that here? Was there any indication from you that this crime was sexually motivated?
It did not appear that way.
Why did it not appear to be that way?
From the autopsy reports, there was no indicators of sexual assault or.
So you're basing that just on that?
And usually there would be a sexual assault if they were sexually motivated, there.
Does there have to be indication in the autopsy report for a crime to be sexually motivated?
I guess not.
Fair to say a crime could be sexually motivated, but before the sexual assault occurs, the crime is committed. Fair?
Could you say that again?
Sure. The crime initially could be sexually motivated, but before any kind of sexual assault occurs, the person kills the victim.
Yes.
If the defendant said that, would that be important information for you to review before you made your analysis?
That analysis starts going into the behavioral analysis aspect, the psychological, and I look at that is not my area.
You said the sticks are, no doubt in your mind, the sticks are there for a symbol, as a symbol?
They're, the ones on AW, yes.
The one on AW, but not LG?
LG, they're there because they meant something to the offender. Whether they're an alphabet, a sigil, a rune, or, they had some meaning to the offender.
And you're confident they weren't for any kind of countermeasure or to cover up the bodies?
Absolutely confident. They're not covering the bodies. They're absolutely not working that way, they're not functioning that way.
But if the crime scene's personalized to the individual, how can you make that assumption that they weren't put there to cover the bodies?
Because the bodies aren't covered, so.
Not completely covered, right? But there's some coverage.
Just minimal. That, I think, is just obviously not done to cover the bodies if they're not covered.
Is that what you're basing your opinion on? They're not for countermeasures, but they don't completely cover the body?
Yes.
And so, therefore they must be symbols?
No, not therefore it has to be symbols. It was a ritual act, in my opinion. It was a ritual that was done that had meaning to the offender. There were a lot of ways in that scene that they could have covered the bodies, with leaves and things. That's not what was done. They were arranged.
If the defendant made a statement that the branches are there intended to cover the bodies, would that change your opinion?
No, I don't think it would.
So regardless of what the defendant said, you're going with those are part of a symbol?
I'm going with they had different meaning to the offender.
Would it change your mind that the defendant here's admitted to killing the girls?
No. It's still.
Would it change your mind that he admitted to killing the girls and his defense team has admitted he has no Odinist ties? Would that change your mind?
No.
The blood on the tree, how confident are you T-hat that is a symbol as opposed to blood spatter?
I'm extremely confident. It's an intentional mark, in my opinion, it's an intentional mark.
You have no training? Or you have minimal training in blood spatter?
Correct.
So how can you rule that out?
Because of the appearance of it and the context that it's in with it being done at that scene.
What is the context it's in? Can you explain that to me? What context is the blood on the tree in?
I'm going from my experience in a number of cases where markings are.
You've had other cases where you've examined crime scene where this marking has been left in blood at a crime scene?
Not that specific marking.
But you have minimal training in blood spatter?
Correct.
And you've ruled that out?
Yes.
And you've ruled out contact and transfer as well?
Correct.
And we talked a little bit about this, or Mr. Baldwin did. If the BAU examined the evidence in this case and said that the sticks were a form of undoing, your testimony is that they're wrong?
My testimony is that's their perspective. They're trained to analyze it that way, that's how they're trained.
And so analyzing these crime scenes is all about the perspective you bring into it when you analyze it.
No, it's about a completely different methodology, looking at it from the cultural anthropological methodology, as opposed to behavioral analysis.
And you used that methodology when you examined this crime scene?
Correct.
Can I have just a moment, Judge?
You may.
Ms. Perlmutter, on the chart that Mr. Baldwin put up, there were 7.
There appeared to be, on LG's face, an inconsistent pattern with the blood. There was a reference to it, I think, in the blood spatter report.
Ms. Perlmutter, when did you first look at the evidence for this case?
I think about 3 months ago.
So we're in July. I'm gonna say April of 2024?
Yes. I should have.
That's when the evidence was given to you by the defense?
It was, I should have checked the date. Yeah, I think it was around April.
The exact date's not important, but around that time, sometime in April of 2024?
Correct.
And you talked about that some of the evidence you used, maybe not all every time, but that evidence you used to make a determination of whether or not this is I think you used the classic or textbook ritualistic killing. Is that correct?
Yes.
And is it important for you to examine that evidence before you make that finding?
Yes.
How important?
It's important to examine the evidence.
I mean, common sense says it's important to examine that stuff before.
Yes.
Is that fair?
Yes.
Back on September 19th of 2023, did you appear on court TV?
Yes.
And you gave an analysis of this killing at that time. Is that correct?
Yes.
And prior to giving that analysis, had you observed any evidence from this case?
I just read a Frank's memo.
Did you observe any of the evidence from this case?
No.
And on that television show, I hope I get this quote right, but you told them that this is a classic ritual murder, correct?
From the description, yes.
And you told them that before examining the evidence the defense had given you?
Correct.
Now, you're in the business of consulting and testifying in these type of cases. You testified to that you get paid to do these things, right?
Yes.
And so if you were there on court TV, a national program, and say, this is a classic ritualistic murder, then you change your story that may hurt your business, correct?
That is not what happened. I reviewed the report, which was very specific, and I gave my opinion and, looking at the evidence, if it was different, I would have changed my opinion.
Is it in your practice when you're examining crime scenes to look at motions filed by the defense to make an analysis of a crime scene?
That was given to me by the court TV people.
I understand that. Are there any other cases where you've examined a crime scene where you've looked at a motion from the defense to make an analysis of whether or not that crime scene is a ritual killing?
That was, no. That was.
Goes outside your standards, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I don't have any other questions, Judge.
Mr. Baldwin.
You said something about a serrated edge, and that was you believe in the autopsy report.
It was either the autopsy or the BAU report. It was mentioned, I think, in one of the reports.
If it was in the autopsy report, it's in evidence. Do you know if a box cutter has a serrated edge typically?
If
you don't know, that's fine.
I don't think they do.
Okay. You were talking and trying to answer, and you said something about race trading, a race trader. What were you trying to say there? I think the question was, has anybody ever seen racists who kill white people?
White supremacists target minorities, Jewish people, and anybody they consider a race traitor. They also get into gang with each other. I mean, they will target members of their group that they feel didn't do certain things correctly or was an informant, or there's a lot of other reasons they will target.
All right. And just for everybody's understanding, that when you are an Odinist group with racist kind of ties to racism, which is more prevalent in terms of, and I don't even know if you know the answer to this, which is the more driving force, the Odinism or the racism?
They just go hand in hand. It's fundamental to the racist Odinism, because they feel that Christianity mongrelized the pure Aryan traditions, so they identify with what they think is the original warrior culture.
When you were asked by the state about this defendant here not having any, the defense has represented there is zero evidence that Richard Allen has any ties whatsoever to Odinism, runes, Norse paganism, any type of cult. Would that be consistent with that crime scene? That's somebody that committed those crimes, somebody who has no knowledge of that?
That would not be consistent.
No other questions.
Mr. Baldwin, or, I'm sorry, Mr. McClelland.
Thanks, Judge. Ms. Perlmutter, you talked about race traitor. Did either one of the victims fall within, to your knowledge, did either one of the victims fall within one of those categories you talked about under being a race traitor?
I don't have knowledge of that.
So no, to your knowledge, neither one of them fell under one of those categories, either minority, Jewish, and I think you named something else.
Informants and, the other, no, they don't.
Okay.
No.
You said the driving force. Mr. Baldwin asked you what is the driving force, Odinism or racism, and you said they go hand in hand. Does that mean they're equal?
It's they see it as their religion, it's their belief system, so I guess you can't separate the two.
Racism is so ingrained in the Odinism that that's what you mean when you say they go hand.
It's intrinsic.
I think you said hand in hand?
To it.
Intrinsic. Okay.
It intrinsic to it.
And so to your knowledge, were either one of these girls part of a minority that they would be racist against?
Not that I know of.
Okay. Would it be unusual for a racist Odinist to kill somebody that they...
These, again, they splintered from violent gangs, so there can just be reasons, because they didn't participate in some organized crimes or whatever criminal activity they were involved in. They could be related to someone that they're, retaliating against. It can be that way, too. The motivation can be the combination of those things.
In this offense, did you have any information that played into your analysis that was the case in this crime?
I didn't have.
That the killer was trying to get back at the victims for some reason? Is there any information that you had that was factored into your analysis?
I didn't have a lot of information on the victims.
Okay.
The victimology.
Would that be something important that you'd like to have in order to make your assessment, or are you comfortable with making your assessment based on what you got?
I am comfortable with making my assessment.
Just a moment, Judge.
Affirmative response.
I don't have anything else, Judge. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Doctor. You may step down.
Thank you.
All right. We're gone now, go ahead. It's almost 1:30. I'm sorry that we went over, but I wanted to get her testimony done.
Thank you.
So she could be on her way. So we'll break for lunch. Be back here by 2:15.